I really appreciate your time on coming on tonight, mate.
Nah, dude, thanks for having me, man. Pleasure to be here.
Great stuff, mate. I thought we'd start off the podcast, mate, by just talking about when was your first dip into combat sports?
It's a good question. I would say 2017 was the very first time that I was exposed to combat sports. Growing up, my dad never put on boxing bouts. He was never a big MMA guy. None of my friends were throughout middle school, early high school. But John Jones, Daniel Cormier, too, first event I ever watched and was hooked from that moment moving forward.
Yeah, class. And you've recently just signed over to BKFC. What made you want to become a bare knuckle fighter?
I think a lot of people that don't know me or aren't familiar with my sort of career the last several years, they haven't seen me do the BJJ or the Misfits boxing or the karate combat. But those who have realized that this is very on brand. This is just another escalation. This is a further step, me kicking things up a notch. And BKFC, as hardcore as it is, the most hardcore thing I've ever done, it makes perfect sense, I feel, for me.
Yes, because fighters, like most fighters, are normally known to have a troubled past. The way you present yourself may lead others to think that you haven't had that struggle. And can you let us know what has given you the grit and discipline to become a bare knuckle fighter?
Well, I'm a broadcaster. I'm a play-by-play commentator by trade. And so for me, I think it's important while I'm young to walk it as much as I talk it and put myself in the trenches, in the fire, the same atmospheres that these fighters are in. By no means am I equating myself to them because their journeys, like you mentioned, have had a lot more struggles more often than not. And the level of competition they're subjected to is significantly higher than what I'll ever experience. But for me, it's really because I operate on the other side of the coin for my profession and career. And so that's why I don't feel like I owe it necessarily to the fighters or the combat sports universe to do these types of things. But, for me, myself, walking it as much as I talk it is very important.
Yeah, of course, mate. And you're currently fighting someone who shares a similar abstract path into bare knuckle at BKFC 67. Never overlook an opponent, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you see this fight going with Oscar Willis?
Oscar's a tough cookie. This guy's durable. He's got power in his hands, and he doesn't go away easy. In fact, I just rewatched his MMA fight earlier today for a YouTube video, and dude, he takes shots and comes forward. It's relentless pressure. So that being said, I believe I've got all the tools necessary to win. I'm not sure if I'll get a stoppage, folks, right? I'm not going to be a guy out here saying, hey, a TKO is in my near future. But I'm going to do everything I possibly can to win. And I believe that I have a pretty good couple advantages that you'll see on October 12th.
Like I say, I've seen a few of your fights and you've definitely proved your toughness. I watched the karate combat fight, and how was all that experience for you? How did you find that?
It's excellent. Yeah, it was excellent. Was mad I didn't finish that guy. I was annoyed I didn't get that stoppage, but I also fought like a dumbass for most of it. So, for me, I think it's about composure and sticking to the game plan a little bit more in this BKFC bout. That'll be the focus. But yeah, KC was excellent. That's fun, and hopefully maybe I can do that again.
And obviously you've done bits of boxing fights as well. Is it Misfits you fought on? You fought on Misfits, didn't you?
Yeah. I fought Anderson Silva's son on X Series 9 back in, it was almost a year ago. Yeah, coming up on the 12-month anniversary, me getting knocked the fuck out in a round, which was, not the most fun I've ever had, but is what it was.
But have you changed much up in this camp? Like, how was camp going for this fight? Have you changed much up in training preparation?
What's actually really funny is camp started yesterday. So I'll tell you maybe in a week and a half when I've got some more time. But, like you mentioned earlier, Oscar's job is quite similar to my own in the sense of travel. Him and I have these beyond stupid schedules that we have to balance and coordinate this around. I've been gone. I haven't not been in Arizona for quite some time. And so, was able to get back, and obviously my coaches and I coordinating, and we've got about 2.5, 3 weeks, I'd say, over the next month and change leading up to the fight to really work and focus. So, camp started yesterday. My hands hurt already, and it's going to hurt a lot more.
Oh, they definitely will, mate. But before you signed up to this fight, Ben, were you a fan of BKFC? Did you watch much of it?
Absolutely, man. 100%. I was deeply invested in the Artem Lobov, chapter that BKFC had, the Jason Knight fights way back in the day. I thought that was fantastic. The presentation was so dynamic. It was so engaging. And you look at these other organizations on the scene, and they try and maybe copy the UFC model down to a T. And while
Yeah.
that's all well and good, I've really been in love with how BKFC's prided themselves on being different. And when you got a guy like Mike Perry involved in his career renaissance inside bare knuckle fighting, I was heavily interested as a fan, and seeing his success beating the likes of Michael Venom Page, Luke Rockhold, Alvarez. Like, it was so cool to watch Mike Perry go on this journey in BKFC. So I consider myself a fan then, a fan now, and certainly a fan in the future.
Yeah, and what an atmosphere it's going to be in Marbella, Spain, of all places, to be in a bullfighting arena, mate. What about that, eh?
Oh my God! Are you kidding me? You kidding me? Like, this is as if this couldn't get better, right? We get to fight in a literal gladiator arena in one of the best party cities in the world. I think the entire spectacle is going to be really fun. I've got a very interesting walkout plan. Hopefully, it comes to fruition, like my vision. But yeah, I mean, this could not get better.
Yeah, and how did it feel once the fight was announced and it was over the line? Was it easy to make the fight?
Relatively, I would say. I mean, we were working on it for probably 6 weeks, going back and forth with BKFC, me and Oscar chatting about just how to expedite this as quickly as possible. But we got it done. I didn't know that we were announcing it the day that it was announced. That would have been cool to know. I was sitting in an airport bar eating a ham sandwich, and I get a text from Oscar, and he's like, "Hey, mate, we're going live in 10 minutes." And I was like, "I've had no prep." To ready tweets or ready my Instagram posts, whatever else. But yeah, I mean, it's always cool when these things get announced, because it feels real, and it becomes more of a, oh shit, this is actually happening. And there's a level of fear and nerves obviously involved with it, but just excited, man. Just excited.
Yeah, that's when it all starts, isn't it? When you get that little feel in your stomach when the poster's out.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, when people are texting you, like, "Hey, you're insane. This is stupid." That's when you're like, "Yeah, man, you're probably right."
So you're going to be fighting at lightweight, 155 pounds. Is this the division that you're going to stay at, or is this just going to be a one-off thing for you? Are you looking to get a career out of BKFC?
Come on. I mean, I'm not a guy that's gonna make a career out of fighting, man. Broadcasting is my future. That's really where my interests and passions lie. If there's interesting matchups, I don't give a fuck where it's going to be placed in. I'm down for it. Maybe there'll be more BKFC fights in the future, but at this current juncture, my focus is firmly on October 12th, and we'll just have to see after that.
Yeah, because like the sort of game you're in where these influencers and people are coming over from different backgrounds into the fighting game, it's booming at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Crossover combat sports gets so much flack, and I think a lot of it's unwarranted. As someone who is working with DAZN and Misfits on their X Series on-air team, I have a lot of familiarity and closeness with these athletes and influencers and, musicians, other stars. Like, we just had Danny Aarons versus Danny Simpson, a Leicester City Premier League winner in Simpson taking on a streamer in Danny Aarons at the 3 Arena. Sold out crowd. Hey, you want to shit on influencer boxing? That's really cool. We just sold the 3 Arena out to a seat. So, how stupid is it if it's making a shit ton of money, right?
That's what I mean. And like some of these boxers who were featuring on the undercards and things, it's only bringing more eyes to them and building their platforms more, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man. That's what I love the most about it. You get dynamic backgrounds. I think that when you look at UFC, you look at boxing, the stories that are within them are somewhat contained. These guys have been training their entire lives. This is the biggest moment of their careers. What are your interests and hobbies outside of fighting? Nothing. This is what I do full time. Right? Like, it's boring a little bit, man. Like, let's mix it up. And so with the influencer and crossover scene, all you get is different. All you get is unique backgrounds and paths that have led these two people to this collision and that clash. And I just find, as a broadcaster, such a deep interest in telling those stories and contextualizing what that moment, what that bout means to both people, because they are arriving at vastly different trajectories. So, I as much as I love traditional combat sports, man, and that's again where I hope to be at some point in time. Right now, the influencer side of things, I think it's great. And, the barrier of entry is quite low. Anyone can get involved with this stuff, which is great.
Yes, definitely, mate. And what can we expect to see from Ben the Bane Davis on October 12th in Marbella at BKFC 67?
You guys can expect me to get knocked out with the very first punch. A right hand's going to connect, and I'm going to be unconscious for at least several minutes. No, of course, I'm gonna come in there, do my best, man. I've got a couple tricks up the sleeve. I'm gonna try to fight disciplined. I was way too reckless and wild in the karate combat fight, and I think that this one I really want to get back to the basics. But don't get it twisted. I'm going to entertain. I'm going to go out there, put on a show. I know Oscar is as well, and we're going to have a fun time.
Yes, mate. And do you have a message for Oscar Willis?
I can't wait for the beers after, brother. That pub talk featuring Ben the Bane Davis is going to break record views on the Mac Life.
Quality, mate. And before we wrap it up, mate, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to, any sponsors, anything like that, bro?
I would say just the team, man. Coach Kevin at Tivy Dodd, former UFC fighter, is the biggest pillar in my corner. Billy O'Lunson, my cornerman, guys that I'm going to, get more experience with over the last couple of weeks. That was my crew for Karate Combat. I'm trying to replicate that for BKFC and the whole team down at Arizona Combat Sports in Tempe. I mean, that's really where I've been sharpening the tools and couldn't do it without them.
Wicked, brother. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, mate. I'm traveling out to Spain next week. I'm going to be there all the way through the event, so hopefully we can catch up, mate, and get a bit of filming done.
Completely, man. Just let me know anytime.
That'd be great, Ben. Thank you very much, my brother.
Thanks, man.